I'm British, of Irish heritage, and I'm married to a Zambian. And we have 3 children, and we're raising them in Germany. So I'm really interested in this kind of concept of third culture kids. To my mind, raising our children outside of either of our cultures is a really positive thing for them. Firstly, it means that they don't identify more strongly with either my culture or my wife's culture, but through both of us, they get to appreciate the strengths and relative weaknesses of both the societies that we come from. But it does beg the question, where will they ever consider to be home? Will they consider Germany, where we live, to be home, or will it identify more with one of the cultures from which they originally come? There's been quite a lot of research into third culture kids in recent times as the phenomenon of raising children outside of their home culture becomes more prevalent across the world. But certainly, it's probably true to say that third culture kids are highly adaptable. They're able to adjust to the culture within which they've been raised, as well as identifying with the countries from which their parents and other relatives come from. And that can mean that if we or any family were to move to another country, they'd be able to quickly adapt to their new setting because they have the skills and tools which are appropriate to making those lifestyle changes. Linked to that is the fact that they're able to move between cultures and have an appreciation and understanding that people from different countries and different parts of the world think differently and act differently in certain situations. And as they grow and develop, they're able to develop their adaptability in order to adjust to wherever they may be. And thus, third culture kids are often very open-minded and very open to new ideas and very tolerant of different people and different cultures. And that can lead to them being more empathetic and able to understand where different people are coming from based upon their cultural experiences. For us, one of the great joys of raising third culture kids is the exposure that they're having to multiple languages. Our children are being raised with English as their first language, but are schooling in Germany, so they are learning German almost as natives. Whereas at the same time, my wife also speaks to them in a number of different languages, particularly Nyanja, which emanate from her country of Zambia. And such exposure to languages at such a young age will also empower them as they grow to be able to access other languages relatively quickly. Now, these are wonderful skills for young people, and not everyone and few people globally get the opportunity to enjoy the sort of lifestyle which third culture kids can. And it's not just communicating through the medium of language, but another huge advantage of being a third culture kid is that you're growing up and recognizing other ways which human beings communicate. So you're going to pick up on non-verbal cues, which may be commonly used in different cultures. So again, your communication skills per se are going to be very well developed. It's probably true to say, and again, based upon the research, that third culture kids are thus quite emotionally intelligent because of this adaptability and ability to be able to pick up cues across a number of different cultures and be open-minded to the way that different people may think because of their heritage, their tradition, their religion, or their cultural practices. At the same time, it would be foolish to think that it would all be a bed of roses. There are some problems of being a third culture kid, and one of those is sense of identity. Where do I really belong? Do I belong in the country where I'm living and being raised, or do I belong to the country of my mother or my father? It can lead to children having some level of confusion as they struggle to find their sense of identity, particularly as they move into their teenage years. And although third culture kids are often highly skilled at building relationships and friendships with people across the world, there can be a degree to which they find it very difficult to empathise with people who have a very shallow and narrow view of the world, because they have this huge openness through their own experience, and when they meet people with a much more isolated worldview, they can find it difficult to understand what drives them. My wife and I are very hopeful that our children are going to grow up to be quite worldly in their perspective and open-minded in the way that they treat and understand people from different backgrounds and cultures. We also believe that they're going to be quite self-aware because of their experience of growing up in a third-party culture. And also that they'll be very aware of the differences between people across the world. Ultimately, we make decisions with our children's lives, and we're making decisions that we hope will lead our children to have the most fulfilled lives possible, so that they can grow up as happy young people and into adults who will flourish and find their place in the world.